All right, today we're going to do a tutorial on the Open Pond protocol, how to set up a node, and how to run an application on that node. So first off, this assumes that you have the repository cloned and on your local machine. I'm running in the Linux environment, but you should be able to do this in Windows and Mac OS. So the first thing that we're going to do today is that we're going to update some configuration files. Granted that you're in the top level directory of the project, make sure that you're in the master branch. Oh, it's main. Okay, the main branch. Make sure you're in the main branch. And if you need to update that, just get pull origin main. Make sure everything's up to date. Clear that out. Now you're going to need to go over to the configs file, the config file, clear it. All right, and we're gonna open up some configurations. There should be one file in there. It is the example file, so that's what we'll use to edit our configuration. We're going to set up our configuration for our node to talk to one other node. That node running on a Raspberry Pi. So to do that, we're going to need to open an editor for this file. So we're going to go into VS Code over here, but you can use your favorite editor of choice. It doesn't really matter as long as you follow the TOML format. Things should be good. So open the folder here, and we're going to go into our repository, and we're just going to click on this folder, the config folder, and that should just show the things inside that folder, which is this example file here. These are our settings. Just make sure that these ports are unused, or else you'll run into collision problems when the node starts to run up. For our case, we need to figure out what our address is. So if you're in Linux, there's a command, I believe it's ifconfig, that will show you what addresses and networks you're running on. So I'm going to set this up on my local Wi-Fi network, which is the 192.168 network.0. So my IP address on this local network is that. So I'm going to copy and paste that into this document. I'm going to run on port 8081. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to change the name to my computer. As for the peers, we're only going to set up one peer. So we'll get rid of this one. And then my Raspberry Pi will be running on the other computer. And its IP address is .34. You can run the same command on the other computer to figure out that if you're doing two computers, or you can set it up locally using the same IP address, or you can use the loopback interface to do it on multiple ports. You just make sure that these settings are different if you're doing it on the same computer, just so you avoid port collisions. Settings are good, local's good, the peer that we're trying to connect to is good, and then this is the application that's set by default. That's already ready for us, so that should be fine as well. But it is possible to have multiple apps, as it is possible to have multiple peers. So that can be added on. Just make sure that the IDs don't overlap. So now that we have this good on our side, just make sure it's saved real quick. And then we're going to go remote log into this, remote log into our Raspberry Pi. So if we SSH into our Pi, .34, enter the password, and we have a remote connection to the Raspberry Pi. So we're going to move over to the repository that's on there. Basically do the same setup but in reverse. So the local computer will be the Raspberry Pi, and the peer computer will be the computer that I'm currently running right now, and the one that you're seeing the screen on. So make sure we're on the right branch. We're not. So we're going to just clean this out a little bit and check out the main branch. And make sure that we have the most up-to-date software. Clear that out, and then move to the configs folder. Clear that out, and we should have the example folder. And this is a test folder here, so I wouldn't worry about that. You can have multiple different folders that you can reference, just in case you want to keep the example or try something new, or try a different configuration out. So we're just going to change the example file. So yeah, nano example. So we're just going to use a nano editor here, since it is remote, and we're going to change local to the Raspberry Pi. Port collisions don't matter because this is a different computer. If it was running on the same computer, they would matter, but they don't matter here. And then our peer is going to be my computer. We're going to get rid of this peer. We're both running the same application. The IDs have to match on both for that connection to work. And we're both running the same app, which is the Akron app. And then we need to make sure the IPs match up. So the IP for this one is 34. And then I believe this one was 66. We'll double check that. Yep, 66 and 34. So just flipped around. Everything looks good to go. These ports line up. So 8081 matches with the 8081 for the peer. This 8081 matches up with that 8081 for the local on my computer. So if we exit out of that, save it, we should have everything set up ready to go. So go back into the local here, or the top level of the repository. Same over here. So this terminal over here is running the code on the Raspberry Pi, and this terminal is running the code for this side. So we'll clear that out. We'll clear it out over here. Make sure to build it just to make sure there's no errors or anything running on both ends. And that just makes sure that that goes up to date. Usually it should be good to go if it is on a main branch and nothing's been edited outside the configuration file. But it's always good to check. So next we're going to build our set up our node to run. So not there yet. So we're going to use our configuration file that we just edited, the example file here. command. I'm going to copy and paste that, I think. So, and that will run the same command over here. Oh, we want to run it. My bad. Yeah, you'll want to run the main script to set up the node. So the node started. It started my Raspberry Pi. So the node is running on my Raspberry Pi. And then we'll just fix that over here. The node's running, my computer's running. So these two nodes are connected to each other. So now it's time to start the applications. So we're going to get a new tab here, running in the same file. Do the same thing over here. Oops. We'll move. Okay. Yeah. We'll have to SSH into this again. All right. Enter the password. We should be good to go. And then move into the repo that holds all the code. Clean that out. All right, so they're both in the same spot. So to run the example application, you just use this example tag here, name of the app, and then we got to reference our configuration. And then we'll do the same thing on this end. And we should be good to go. So we'll hit enter here, and we'll hit enter here. All right, so both, this application is basically a simple chat application. So I type something over on this side, and the other side receives a response after a little bit. The way that this works is that actually both applications are constantly sending requests, and if there are any updates, then the other node will send an update saying that this new message was typed out. Both nodes are running servers on them, so this is a decentralized application for those that like to use fancy keywords. So we'll just type in simple message from my computer, and then my Raspberry Pi receives the message. We'll send the same message back, and just like that, it comes on the other side. If for whatever reason you want to close an app, just to show that there's some memory here, so I can still send stuff. Let's say, are you still there? Then just wait for a little bit. The app is off on this side, so I'm seeing nothing. I guess not. And then we'll start this app over again. And then you see that we request the latest message. Pretty simple server. You could get it. You could get the whole message back if you decide to save all that information. But this is a pretty basic app. It only saves the last message. So you get the last message back. I guess not. Sorry, my app was closed. And then connections reestablished there. So as long as you have the nodes running, that's all you need. You can open and close apps as you please. Just the connection will be temporarily disabled for this example application. So that's pretty much it for this tutorial on how to run an application and how to start up your node. Just to rehash everything super quickly, this step was setting up the nodes to run. So just running the cargo run with the configuration file path runs the node that's basically allows applications to run through it. And then on the other one, we pass the we go to the path that's running the application, which is in the examples folder, which is why we use that examples flag, and then pass the argument for the same configuration file, and then just start the app that way. And that shows that peer-to-peer communication between the two computers utilizing the OpenPON node on the back end to get the messages through. So that's it for this tutorial. Thanks for checking this out, and we look forward to pushing more updates in the future.